Today, I have a very exciting video to show you. This is an 18th century English tall case clock, and this was made by Adam Costen of Kirkham, England, and he lived from about 1711 to 1788, and his working years were approximately 1760 to 1780. So this clock could be older than our nation, which is pretty cool to think about. So when I bought this clock, I didn't actually get a good look at it. I just saw pictures, and oh my goodness, it was in dire need of conservation. It had been stored with the hood off, and so the movement was absolutely filthy. I believe it was stored in a hot environment because the case was very crooked, and some cross banding was barely hanging on. There was some veneer missing. This clock needed some help. So I completely disassembled the movement. It was cleaned in an ultrasonic cleaner, and the pivot points of every wheel were hand polished with ultrafine emery cloth. The brass plates, I hand cleaned them as well, and I applied synthetic clock oil. So this is a 30-hour movement using an endless rope. So there's just one weight that powers the time and strike train with a small donut counterweight. It's a pretty cool invention. So the upper portion of the case was leaning badly to the right and to the front. It was definitely crooked, so I had to remove the trim at the top of the base and put in shims and try to level everything out, and this was very hard. This was not fun. But while I was in there, I came upon an interesting discovery. I found two pieces of wood. One just looked like a stick, but the other looked like some kind of handcrafted tool. It almost looked like a little hollowed out golf tee. So I asked my friends in the UK clock group about this. I posted a picture, and they said they believed it was a primitive oiling tool for this clock. So I don't know how old it is, but that was really cool to find. And when I reassembled the clock, I put those two pieces right back where I found them. I think it should go with the clock and be part of its story. The dial was in mediocre shape. The silver was gone from the chafter ring, which made it easy to resilver. The spandrels were ultrasonic cleaned, and I also resilvered the calendar ring as well. Unfortunately, the calendar function no longer works. I think sometimes people have had trouble with these because it would stop the clock. So they remove the connection to the calendar wheel and the clock runs good. But I wish it still had that function because, I think with a little bit of time, I could have made it work. Also on the dial, you'll notice there are winding arbors. These are false winding arbors. A lot of times back in the day, these would be added to make a 30-day clock appear like an 8-day clock, a much more expensive clock. So it kind of added that level of prestige to the clock. Oh, you've got an 8-day clock, when in fact it's just a 30-hour. They're just attached to the front plate. So the original pendulum to this clock, it was not in good shape. In fact, it looked like a J at the bottom. It had been dropped. I don't know, it had to be dropped pretty hard, or somebody just didn't take care of it. So I had to use a torch and heat the metal red hot so I could bend it. I also used a vise, and the pendulum bob was removed. I polished it and lacquered it, and some of the threads are actually messed up on the bottom of the pendulum rod, which made regulating the time a little difficult. but there are some good threads there. So what I did was I found a good spot for the rating nut, and I added a little brass sleeve and 2 washers, and it's keeping pretty good time now. And taped inside the door, this is pretty cool. They have a stamp from when it was imported into the United States, and it looks like it was imported from England in 1967. So this is a really cool clock, especially being from the 1700s. It's just, you don't find these that often, and sometimes they're a basket case like this one, and sometimes they're even in worse shape. This one definitely has some scars, some wear, especially on the case, but you know, that adds to its history, its story. If you were to completely restore this clock to make it look brand new, I mean, just, it would take away, I think, from its presence of age. So I would call this a conservation. The clock has been preserved, not completely restored, and I think that's a more appropriate way to treat an antique clock such as this. So what are your thoughts? Do you like these clocks, even though it's just a 30-hour? So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Also, check out some of my other colleagues who make terrific clock videos. Check out Just Mike and also Mark Munnerlin. They both produce a lot of content in regards to clocks, and I turn to them whenever I am needing help. There's times when I need to go to a certain video because there's so many things that could go wrong with a clock, especially a cuckoo clock, which is what I work on more. So I hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful week. Thank you.